I mean, do you want to stay with the killer? Up to you, girl.
I mean, if the killer is hot.
If the killer has a big dick, we can discuss. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Romancing the Monsters. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seth.
And before we get into this episode, it's been a little while, so I'm going to do some shameless self-promo and kindly ask you, if you are using Apple Podcast, please consider leaving us a review on there. It's really helpful for us to just, know what people like, what they don't like. But also, it's encouraging to have kind words, on the podcast. Also, if you are listening and you are not subscribed/followed or following us, please consider doing that as well. If we've earned your follow, that'd be great. If we haven't, it's fine. It's fine. We'll convince you eventually.
I mean, it could either make them want to follow us or unfollow us, how chaotic and messed up we are on here.
Well, we deserve it. We deserve it if that's the case. Anyways, today, what do we have for them today, girls? I never ask you this. How about someone else says what we've got planned for today?
We have another Face Your Monster episode.
Woo woo!
Yes, we do. So we have our second Face Your Monster episode for you today. If you didn't listen to the first episode, the concept of this series is essentially each of us picks one book or more, I don't know, from our TBR that has been on there for a while. Sometimes it's a book that we're scared to read because it's an old one, and what if it didn't age very well? Or sometimes it's just a book that we're kind of scared will make us a little emotional, or just a book that has like a lot of hype, which can be very scary sometimes.
Yes.
So whatever the reason is, we're tackling that TBR, we're reading an old book, and today we shall reveal what the old book is. And let me tell you that amongst us, there is a deceiver.
Oh, shut up!
There is a liar.
I just followed your rules so well. So well, I followed the rules.
Long story short, Seth apparently read 2 books when we last recorded a Face Your Monster.
Oh, it was 2?
She read 2, and she never told us about the second one. She lied. She hid the truth. And
I did not lie. I just didn't want to be questioned, and I didn't want my truth to come out before I was ready. I'm sorry if you feel betrayed
you
or
should
hurt
be sorry.
by my actions.
You should be sorry.
But
yes.
I had to do it in order to achieve full secrecy. Yes.
Sure.
I had to.
I just find it very scary how easy it was for you to hide this, because we had no idea up until a few weeks ago that Steph was literally just like, oh, by the way, I've already read my second Face Your Monster book. And we were like, what? And she was like, yeah, I read it like right after the first one. And anyways.
Just think about, though, how this speaks for our friendship. Like, if you have to tell me a secret, just know I'll take it to the grave.
Fake friend.
Yes.
Oh, shut up.
Yes.
You know what? Do this episode on your own. I'm leaving. Bye.
I think we have monsters to face in between us 3.
Yeah.
We should discuss this. Anyways, so who would like to start this week?
Miss Sephra can go.
Okay.
Since.
Yes, that's very true. Miss Sephra, how about you go first? Miss Liar.
Oh my gosh.
Let us guess what your book is.
I mean, honestly, I don't think you guys would be able to know, or like you would know it, or like I don't think you'll know it at all. But I'll let me see if it's on your list first. It's not on any of your lists, so I really don't think
Okay.
you'll know it.
All right.
And so
Well, just
I'll
say
just
it
tell
then.
you what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the book I chose, my second book, it actually was between this and the book that I read for the first episode. And this originally was my first choice, but I didn't want a historical romance for my first one. But then I just kept thinking about this book, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll just read it, and then maybe I'll use it for my second book. That's how it happened, guys.
So it's a historical romance. Interesting.
Yes. It is historical romance, and it is called His Contract Bride by Rose Gordon.
Why does that ring a bell, though?
I don't know, but it's not on your list.
That's kind of shocking. That's shocking.
Yeah, that's shocking. Yeah.
That it's not on her list.
It's not. And it's a fairly, I would say, lesser read book. It only has like 814 ratings.
Is it indie?
Yeah, it is indie.
Oh, okay.
And it released in 2012. So like that was a while ago, and that was when I think indie publishing was not really like read or like it wasn't like as mainstream as it is now.
It was, but definitely not as much in the historical romance genre, for sure. I mean, still to this day, some historical romance readers will not read indie published historical romances.
Really?
So, yeah.
I mean, if the story speaks to me and it's something that I want to read, then of course I'll pick it up. Like, I don't really pay attention to if it's individually published or like, independently published or even like with a publishing house. I don't really pay attention to that.
Yeah, me either.
And anyway, so I added this book in like 2015, and it's just been sitting there on my shelf for years and years and years. And then 6 years later, I was like, okay, fine. So basically this book is, I feel if the title, doesn't already tell you, it is a contract marriage. Marriage of Convenience. So my girl Regina is the main girl, and she's in finishing school at the beginning of the book. So the characters are quite young in this, which I found kind of surprising, because she's 18, and then I think once it flashes forward to when they actually get married, she's about 19, and he's like, I think in his early 20s. So she meets the main guy, Edward, at her school. He comes to visit with his best friend who has his sister, so the best friend's sister is also attending the school, so they all meet, and then she kind of bonds with Edward, and, like, she falls in love with him on the spot. And, like, we find out early on that he's very much into, like, plants and, like, animals and, like, wildlife, and he's just very much, like, into botany and all of that. Anyways, so a flash to a year later, and she's yet to make a match with anyone because she's been waiting for him, and, like, she finds out that Edward also, in fact, like, he wants her and he chooses to marry her. Like, she doesn't know at this point that it's a marriage contract or anything. She just, like, actually thinks that they fell in love, like, a year ago. But we know that it is a marriage contract between their fathers because his dad couldn't pay off, like, pounds. And so Regina's dad just really wants to be part of the ton. And, like, if he marries into, like, I guess, the society, then he will be able to make those connections and, like, be a part of society. So he's very money hungry and greedy, so he kind of makes Regina the scapegoat or whatever. Anyway, so cut to them actually being married, and, like, they start their marriage and do the do, and then it's kind of funny because, like, she's told by her aunt that you need to always be clothed during sex, and, like, she wears, like, this gigantic like, nightgown, and he's like, he doesn't know anything either because he's also a virgin, and, like, actually no, he's had sex, I think, like, what, no, he's a virgin, he was a virgin, yes, he lied and said that he's had sex before, but he hasn't. And so, and then she also is told by her aunt, more or less, that, like, it's only mistresses that, like, are naked during sex, and, like, so that kind of causes, like, this whole issue with, like, within herself, because she, like, kind of wants to, like, be naked with him, but, like, she
bear it all.
Yeah, and then so basically things happen, and, like, they start to get a bit closer. She starts coming to the garden with him, and, like, as I said, he's a botanist. And he has a lot of animals as well, like frogs and things like that he looks after and, like, he studies. And then, yeah, she helps him out, and she also starts to write his letters and transcribe his theories and things like that. Like, he's very much, like, involved in, like, the science and all of that. Anyways, the story kind of starts when he decides to keep the marriage contract, like, he doesn't tell her about it. And, like, he doesn't want her to know because he realizes that she thinks it's a love marriage and he kind of likes where this is going. And then all of a sudden she finds the contract and she feels, like, hurt and embarrassed because she kept talking about it being a love marriage. And then it kind of also puts a damper.
Angsty.
Yeah, it puts a damper on their relationship because she's like, you probably think I'm so annoying coming here and, like, disrupting your garden and, like, being in your space. So, like, she kind of, like, takes herself back, and then Edward starts missing her, and, like, things happen, and then, like, she, like, even in the bedroom, it starts feeling forced and awkward because, like, she doesn't really want to be there anymore.
I love awkward sex in books. Love
it's so good. And then, like, more things happen, and then Edward starts to really miss her, like, miss having that companionship with her, and, like, he misses her smiles and, like, her laughs, and, like, my heart hurts because, like, this angst in this book was so good. And, like, honestly,
did you love it?
I'm not gonna spoil it, but I loved it. I loved this book so much. I honestly would not have read this book, I think, if it wasn't for this series on the podcast, because, like, it kind of just slipped through
that's what it's for.
Yeah, it just slipped through the cracks, and, like, I kind of just forgot about it. And I'm just really happy that I had the chance to read it because this book was really good. But I will say I wish it was a bit more developed and, like, fleshed out a bit because the book was kind of short. But I loved the angst of, like, Edward trying to win her back and, like, her not really knowing that he's being genuine or not. And, like, it's just great. I love it.
One of my questions was actually going to be, like, why do you think you haven't read this book? But clearly it's just you forgot about it.
No, it's not like that I didn't, like, I forgot about it. Like, which I did. I wholeheartedly forgot about it. 6 years later, I only, like, saw it because of this podcast. But it also was hard to find. So, like, it wasn't available, like, on Amazon. It wasn't really available, like, on Smashwords or anywhere else that you can get an ebook. Like, you just can't find it. So I had to actually buy the paperback off of Amazon to be able to read it. Yeah, and so it wasn't that much money. So, like, I didn't mind reading, like, buying the book, even though I didn't know if it was good or not. I just bought it and ended up loving it. So, I mean, that was a positive for me, but it was really hard to find.
And since this is, like, a book from 2012, I feel like I have to ask, do you feel like the age of the book was showing or not at all?
Not at all. If anything, I feel like this book felt more, like, accurate in terms of historical romance, like, historical events, in terms of, like, their relationship and, like, her lack of education in terms of, like, the bedroom and, like, how to act in a marriage versus, like, what she's told. And I don't know, I felt like it was more accurate in that sense.
That's interesting. I feel like probably historical romance is a little bit more forgiving when it comes to, you know, not feeling as old as quickly.
Yes, I agree.
Just because it's already old.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, nowadays it's like a lot of historical romance, it's like there are very modern issues and discussions that are being had in, like, a historical context, if that makes sense.
And I do think if this is a book that you're considering to pick up, I do think it's important to note that his character is very different from, like, a lot of other popular historical romance leads. I feel like he was more quiet and, like, he was more of, like, your nerd. He was a scientist and, like, a botanist, and, like, he was very different than what I'm used to. And, like, he was described as, like, lanky and, like, he was lean, but, like, I don't know, he was just not, like, obviously your hot
your typical
Duke.
Hero.
Yeah, exactly. He was just, like, a regular guy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And good. If you are looking for another book that has some great, extremely awkward sex for a very long time between the main characters, I highly recommend A Lady Awakened by Cecilia Grant.
Okay.
That book is filled with it, and it has the trope where it's like, I have to conceive a baby within a month or else I won't be able to keep my not the inheritance, but, like, it's a historical romance as well, so, like, she won't be able to keep her the title and stuff. She'll have to pass it on to, like, a male relative and stuff.
Ooh.
So she has to conceive, but that makes it very awkward because she picks, like, her neighbor, and she's like, hey neighbor, how about we bang? And, like, she's very
historical romance, and she's just gonna, her child will be recognized, and she's not married?
Yes, because her husband, who was very, very old, just died. So, like, she has a month where she can, like, act as if she hasn't just had her period, which she has. She knows she's not pregnant. but she has about a month to conceive and be like, oh, it's his baby. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, or else the estate will go to a family relative who is a man who is like really cruel and like has had like a past of being abusive towards some of the servants and stuff. So like she doesn't want it to pass on to him for the protection of the ladies in the house and stuff. So yeah, she's like, neighbor, how about like we bang? And like she's very not cold, but she's very like religious and by the book and like doesn't want to do anything sexy, and like he's very the opposite of that, where he's like kind of a libertine and like roaming the streets and chasing the skirts. So it's an interesting book. It's a fun book. Like great awkward sex in that one.
All right, I might look it up. So yeah, that was my book.
Should I go next?
Sure.
My book, I will say that one person here has read it.
Oh my gosh.
And unfortunately, it's S again. It's not my fault. I mean, S read like all the books back in the day. I know, she does
read a lot.
And I never read all the books back in the day, so I'm trying to catch up on that
now.
It's
an old book.
It is an older book. It has a very big age gap, and I will say that it's a controversial novel.
Oh.
Can you try and guess?
Is it forbidden?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's more than forbidden. It's like forbidden by the law.
Wait, what? So they actually are siblings? Are they uncle and niece?
No.
Oh, I'm like, no, this is not happening.
More on that later, actually.
I feel like I've read like a lot of these, so you kind of have to like narrow it down.
Okay, the next thing I'll say. Okay, I'll give you one more clue and then my last clue. There's a number in the title. And my last clue, which will probably give it away, is it's a MC romance.
Is it by Madeline?
No.
Beth Flynn?
Yes.
9 minutes. You read 9 minutes?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Do you know that book, Seth?
No, I don't.
Oh my god.
This is wild. Yeah.
Yeah. So I read 9 minutes by Beth Flynn, which was an experience to say the least. Not necessarily a good experience, but also not necessarily a bad experience. I'm kind of like, I don't know what to think of this book.
Wait, S, did you like this book when you read it?
I did, yeah, because it was something that I hadn't read before. So for me, like, it was like, wow, like, it was different. It was controversial. It was...
Oh, heck yeah.
Taboo.
Okay, I need to get into this controversy.
But also, yeah, so I want to talk about that later on. Like, how do I think I would have felt about the book years ago when I added it compared to now, maybe. So, what is 9 minutes about? 9 minutes opens with a prologue in which a character named Grizz is on death row. He's about to be put to death for a crime, and several crimes, actually. And our heroine, Kit, is watching as he's, dying. And it skips to the past, and the whole book is essentially that she's recounting the story from the start, their story from the start, and then up until that scene where he's, put to death, and beyond a little bit. And Kit, what's controversial about this stuff is that Kit, well, first of all, it's a kidnapping book. And Kit is 15 years old at the time of the kidnapping and at the time of the sexual acts in this book, and Grizz is a 30-something-year-old man. Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So Grizz is, I guess you could say, the hero. I don't want to call him that. He's a character. He's the man in question. And he kind of always had like a sort of obsession for Kit, even when she was, that's not her real name. Her real name is like Gwyn or something. I was
going to say for kids. I was like, well.
No. Well, it's not wrong. So he's always had this obsession with for her for whatever reason. Like, he kind of always got it into his head that, like, he needed to protect her and, like, she would be his eventually. And then comes the night of once she turns 15 and everything, and he's like, well, you know what, I'm done waiting.
Does he think that's the legal age? Or like,
oh, it's illegal, but he's an MC guy. He doesn't give a fuck. He kills people for a living.
So it's legal MC age. Okay. Or legal his age.
He doesn't give a fuck. I think every girl that's in the MC is, like, kidnapped and probably underage when it happened. So he's a character, like I said. I mean, I don't know that I don't like him. I don't like him. Anyways, so she turns 15 and he's like, I want her. So he sends one of his guys to make it look like the guy kidnapped her as, like, a present for Grizz. Turns out Grizz orchestrated the whole thing and, like, he, made it look like that. So Kit arrives, she's 15, and the story is so weird, because it's like, she slowly falls in love with him, and yet I never felt the love between them. Like, it's so, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a very strange novel. A lot happens. There's this character called Grunt, who I loved Grunt.
Same.
Grunt is he's around the same age as Kit, though a little bit older. And he's also part of the MC. He grew up in a very abusive situation, and then his older brother Blue sort of got him out of there. Blue was already in the MC at the time, and he got him out of there because Blue thought that the situation was fine, but then he realized, like, no, my brother is being, like, mistreated and stuff and starved, so, like, I'll take him with me to the MC. So Grunt kind of grew up within the MC and, like, eventually kind of became a part of it, and now he's, like, one of the members and stuff. And Grunt is, like, the one character that he's like the one guy that Grizz has always given a little bit more leeway to, like, more freedom. And throughout the book, like, we don't really know why, and we kind of assume it's because they're brothers or something, like maybe Grizz is brothers with Blue and Grunt. And stuff happens. I mean, Grunt is the one who takes Kit's virginity because Grizz is like, I don't want to hurt her.
Are you kidding?
Like, girl, he was gonna have Grunt use a fucking stick. And he tried to drug her. He was supposed to drug her and then use a stick. Yeah. And then Kit realizes that, and she's like, please no. Like, please no. So she's like, please do it yourself. So Grunt does it himself with his own freaking penis. And they don't tell Grizz about that. And they kind of have, like, an attraction for each other, but both of them are like, well, obviously, like, Grizz is there, like, it can't happen type of thing. But I was rooting so much for Grunt and Kit. I was like, this is the actual relationship I want to read about, like, in comparison to Grizz, who, yeah, Grizz was, like, a very, I feel like I'm all over the place, but, like, this book is all over the place, so, like, I don't know how to make sense of it. Grizz is not, like, an abusive person towards Kit. Like, he's actually really affectionate, and, like, he will literally give her anything she asks for. But to me, that relationship was always, like, false sense of control for Kit. Like, she felt like she had control in the relationship, and she felt like there was a power balance between them when there really wasn't. Because, like, whenever something would happen, then Grizz would freak the F out, kill a couple people, and then obviously Kit is the one feeling bad for it, because as if it's her fault type of thing, when he's the one that, took those actions. Whereas for me, Grunt and Kit, it was like, that was the cute teenager relationship where she actually felt like she had some control, and like he was always like a consent king. And anyway, I loved them. But I'm gonna get into spoilers, so if you don't want to hear about what I'm gonna say, please skip ahead, I don't know, like a minute or two. But since we know in the prologue that Grizz is about to die because he was arrested for kidnapping Kit, it was found out, blah, 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 he was trialed, he was, sentenced and stuff. And Kit, up until this point in the book, she still loves him. Like, she will not leave him. She never would have left him had it not been forced. Like, she never would have ended up with Grunt had she not been forced to do so, because Grizz is like, you need to move on, you're gonna marry someone else, and it's kind of like unsaid yet unsaid that, like, it's gonna be Grunt. So she marries Grunt, and at the time that she marries Grunt, she is pregnant with Grizz's child. And just before Grizz dies, they learn that all along, the book makes you kind of think that Grizz and Grunt are brothers, when in fact we learn at the very end of the novel that Grizz and Grunt are actually Grizz is Grunt's father, not brother.
Oh my god.
So let me try to explain what that means, okay? And here comes the spoiler and how messed up it actually is. So Kit is pregnant with Grizz's child and married to Grunt, who is Grizz's child. And Grizz tells Kit, you are never to tell my daughter that I'm her father. Grunt has to be her father. So now Grunt is the father of his sister. Okay? And also, Kit and Grunt now have kids together as well, which means, in a way, he is the father and brother of his kids. Biological kids.
Okay, as this reminds me, I don't know if you go, like, you see those stories on TikTok where they try to explain their family tree and, like, they have to write it out, and, like, there's part 10s or, like, 20s to this, and, like, they're trying to, like, write out who's who and who's related to who. This is what this sounds like.
It is so messed up, and here's why I was left. I mean, just the whole novel period was like, what the hell? But then that ending was like, what the hell? Because imagine me, okay? Imagine me for like 300 something pages. I'm like really rooting for Grunt and Kit. I'm really hoping she's gonna leave Grizz. She's gonna escape. She's gonna, choose to live her life with Grunt, and then turns out, A, it's not a choice, it's kind of like expected by Grizz, who is still freaking controlling their lives from behind bars, but B, yes, I'm mad, okay? I got emotions to let out, but B, now I'm like, I feel a little weird about Grunt and Kit being together, even though I rooted for them for 300 pages, because now it's weird, because he's fucking the brother of his kids. Ew. I hate it. I hate it here. I hate it. So anyway, long story short, I don't know what to make of this book. It was an interesting experience. It's kind of like, the best way I can describe my experience with this book is, it was a car crash. It was like uncomfortable and jarring, and you can't look away. Like, you can't look away, even though you're extremely uncomfortable as you see it happen. Like, there's a lot of scenes in this book where it's like, obviously this is a 30-year-old man with a 15-year-old girl, and it just feels fucking wrong.
Yeah, it sounds wrong. Like, I can't even imagine reading it. And, okay, I thought when you said it gets a little iffy, I thought you were going to say, like, not iffy, but, like, there was a big, like, surprise at the end. I thought you were going to say that you find out that the kid that she's pregnant with is actually Grunt, because they, before her and the other guy. That's what I thought it was. Not that he was the father.
No, it's iffier than
husband.
that. Yeah, no, it's iffier than that. It's I wish that was the case. I wish they had secretly had an affair, and turns out it's Grunt's baby all along. But alas, that's not the case. And here we are.
What made you pick this book?
I don't know. It's like, it's one of those books that, like, I see popping up on, like, Goodreads or whatnot every once in a while, and someone's reading it and someone's loving it, and, like, you go on those reviews.
It's still popping up?
It is still popping up, and you go on the reviews and people love Grizz, and, like, I get it and I don't. Because, like, I get that the man has a sexual appeal. Like, you feel it. You feel it. He's a big, big, burly man from the MC. He's, like, menacing and hot and, like, has a big dick. A huge dick, actually. And, you know, there's an appeal to that.
But he's also fucking little children.
Exactly. And you're like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And, like, there's literally a scene when he's like, he's just, like, at first he doesn't want to have sex with her because he's like, I'll give her some time because, like, you know, he has a heart.
I mean, you're grooming her is what you're doing.
Well, I mean, pretty much. And then eventually he's like, well, actually, I'm done waiting. Yeah. So that happens.
I mean, it is a dark romance, and I'm pretty sure she advertises it, or the author advertises it, as taboo. No?
Well, probably taboo, but I don't know if it's categorized as dark romance. It definitely should be. I mean, there's even a scene where she's like, oh, I like, she won't let him go down on her because she's like, that's just too personal. This bitch, meaning him, this bitch literally waits 2 days and he's like, well, fuck, I gotta do something about that. So he literally forces her to marry him. Like, he takes her to a tattoo parlor where the guy is essentially has some kind of license to marry people, apparently.
Okay.
And he literally brings her there, doesn't tell her about it. And then once they're there, they're like, yeah, we're getting married. And, like, they get married. She gets, like, a tattoo on her finger of, like, his name and stuff. It's, like, obviously not technically a real wedding because none of them use their real names. So,
and
like,
they sign papers, probably.
Yeah, but, like, their fake names are married.
Yeah, okay.
Not their real names.
So, question, when did this book come out? What year was it?
Oh, I don't actually know.
I think this was
I don't know.
2014.
Okay, so that was at least, like, I can't do math, so, like, 7-ish years ago?
Yeah.
Would you have liked it, do you think, 7 years ago? Do you think young Marge would have liked this book?
Well, that's the question, you know? Like, I was sitting there and I was like, 7 years ago, I was probably reading things that were more fucked up than this. So, you know, because I was reading a lot of, like, psychological thrillers / erotica novels. So
Yeah.
that shit was messed up.
Yo, I think we all had that phase. We all did.
We all did. And so I feel like 7 years ago, I probably would have devoured it and probably would have loved Grizz. And, like, you know, 2021 me, there's a part of me that likes him. I can't help it, okay? But
for me, what's holding me back from what you're saying is, like, that the fact that she's 15, it's like,
yeah.
It's not even like he waited until she was 18, you know? It was just, I don't know. That's a bit iffy for me.
One thing I will say that I appreciated is, like, you have to go into this book expecting the characters to be layered and complex enough that, you know, just because as a reader I'm sitting there and I'm like, Kit, why the fuck are you not leaving? Like, this man is a psycho. He kidnapped you. Like, why aren't you trying to run? Why don't you want a better life? Why can't you see that Grunt is right there waiting for you? And you kind of have to sit back and think, like, it's a lot more complicated than that, because that's just not the choice that she's making, and that's fine, you know? Like, that's her story, and she's not me, so she won't be making the same goddamn decisions that I would.
Exactly.
And, like, if I were in her place, maybe I would be kind of brainwashed, too, into thinking that this is, like, a false sense of you know, comfort and love, and that, like, maybe Grizz is a great man, and, like, yeah, he was treating her well, he was treating her great, but everyone else around him? I mean, do you want to stay with the killer? Up to you, girl.
I mean, if the killer is hot.
If the killer has a big dick, we can discuss.
So, S, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but, like, do you remember, like, your thoughts when you were reading this book? Like, were you, like, fully on board with Grizz and Kit? Is that her name?
Like, who did you like? Do you remember if you were more like Team Grunt?
Both of them, but I think a little bit more Team Grunt.
Oh, okay.
And then kind of sad about the ending with Grizz.
Yeah. Did you expect him to die?
Well, you do. It's the prologue. The prologue is like, you know, he's dying. He dies.
But does he?
Oh, does he?
Because there's two other books in the series. So.
I know, and that was my question. It's like, what the hell are the other books about? Does he not die?
How much do you want to know?
He has to die. I hope he's fucking dead. Is he not dead?
No, he's not dead.
Bitch managed to escape death.
So there's like a lot of shit. There's layers to their story. Like there's like secrets from like way back when, and deaths and like.
Fucking hell. Am I gonna have to read the other ones?
I just have a question. Who does she end up with? Look away, Marge.
Grunt, I did read the blurb of book 3, right? Tell me she ends up with Grunt.
Tell me.
Please.
Yeah, she does.
Okay.
For some time.
What? No. I want to I want to know who she like ends up with officially at the end of the story. Who does she end up with?
From what I remember, do you want to know, Marge? Are you gonna read the rest of the series?
Yes.
From what I remember, she stays with Grunt for years, and then Grizz comes back. Something happens, and I think they end up together at the very end, if I'm not mistaken. So she gets both, basically. But don't quote me on the ending, because like it's kind of iffy, because it's been a while. But yeah.
Fucking hell.
Wait, so she has kids with Grunt, has a life with him, and then she's like, "Oh, actually, I'm gonna end up with your grandpa."
Yeah.
Shit happens. It's wild.
Okay, well now I want to know how this happened. So do I go and read them now?
Fucking hell.
It's wild.
I don't know how to feel about this.
And it's all in Florida. It's all in Florida.
Yes.
I feel like it's very Florida thing.
Yes. Oh man, I don't know how to feel about any of that. Okay, here's the thing. I think I'm gonna pretend this book ends at book 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's with Grunt, and they're happy, and fuck Grizz, he's dead. He's dead in my fantasy. I mean...
I love how S was silent about that, and she wasn't going to say anything if we didn't talk to her about this book.
Like, what the hell? I'm pretty sure he does die. Like, what does he do? Like, did he somehow make sure that, like, whatever was supposed to deliver the lethal dose wasn't, like, what it was supposed to be? Like, was it, like, water or some shit? Like, what... He's got connections. That man has got connections.
He does.
That's the problem.
I mean, I feel like MCs are, like, people in prisons that find a way out. I mean, like, in terms of, like, what I've seen on, like, Sons of Anarchy, like, they just find a way out.
Yeah, but, I mean, imagine this. He's in a room. There's witnesses. There's a doctor that, injects him, and somehow he fucking survives that.
Maybe he had, like, a connection with the doctor or something.
He has connections. He has deep connections. For reasons.
Well, if, listener, for whatever reason, you want something definitely wild, definitely violent at times, there's torture, there's death, there's rape, there's all of those things, and there's kidnapping, and there's a 30-year-old man falling for a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah, sex with minors, if that's your thing.
I mean, let's not shame people.
No, of course.
Here's the thing. If you want a really wild story, then, I mean, I guess you just found it.
Yeah.
I will say, though, the audiobook is shite. Don't do the audiobook.
Okay.
So.
But I am curious to know how she ends up with Grizz, so I might try it, but I don't know.
I love how, like, 2 weeks from now, I'll probably be like, yeah, I just finished book 3. And hate myself. Jeez.
Well, at least you know.
Right.
You know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I know, but I'm kind of disappointed. Yeah. I don't even think I'll rate this book, because what am I supposed to rate it? I don't know. Is it a 5 stars? Is it a 1 star? It could be both.
All right, S.
Okay.
What do you have for us?
So this book, I believe both of you girls have it on your TBR.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay.
Are you gonna describe the cover?
The cover is black and white.
Breaking Dawn. No, I'm kidding.
No.
We will try every week.
So the cover is black and white, and it looks like it's like a picture, and the title, the font is yellow. It looks like a.
Your
we
publication?
have tropes.
Uh,
we have
reincarnation.
Tropes. Ooh. What?
Oh, is it by that Tessa Bailey? No.
No.
No? Okay.
Black and white. The font is yellow, and it's a reincarnation book.
Contemporary.
Oh, it's I know it. I have it, but I don't know what it's called.
I have no idea. Can we get the author name, perhaps?
Her name starts with a J. Jewel.
Ian. Yeah. What's that called? I don't remember actually the name of the book, but I know what book you read. Yeah.
Transcend.
Yes.
Transcend by Jewel Ian.
Tell us about it.
I don't know how much to say because I feel like if I get too much into it, like it
spoils it.
Yeah. Okay, so basically it's about this girl named Swayze who at a young age has been able to remember certain information or memories about people, about complete strangers that she's never met. So she comes across this guy, and right away she's like, oh, I know him. I know where he got the scar on his head. I know that he cheated on his Spanish test. I know what's his favorite pizza. And then she's like, oh, he looks a lot older. I wonder what happened to him to make him look, more older, more sad. So she goes up to him and like has a conversation with him as if she already knows him, and he's confused. And he's like, who are you? And she's like trying to tell him, like, how can you not remember me? Like, I know all these things about you. And he's like, did I go to school with you? But he is much older than her. She's like 21 and he's like 36.
That's a good age gap. That's a legal age gap. We love it.
And he's trying to figure out how the hell she knows all this information about him. Anyways, she ends up becoming his nanny because he recently lost his wife. And
oh yes, this is coming back to me. I didn't read it yet though.
He lost his wife. He needs someone to help him, so she goes and she becomes his nanny, and she's trying to like not say too much about what she knows to try not to freak him out. And he's kind of worried about her.
That would freak me out.
Yeah. So he just kind of doesn't trust her at first. So
do the kids seem familiar to her?
Who? His kid?
Like, yeah.
No. His kid is like months old. Like, she doesn't know anything about. She just remembers him when he was young. Oh,
okay.
So I don't know. So I guess I'll go. I don't know how to rate this book. Because there's
you don't know how to rate this book.
No, because it was good. I won't say it.
Interesting.
It was good.
Okay.
But there's a love triangle in it.
Ooh.
And I love love triangles. Like, I don't mind them. But sometimes I feel like it's just, I wish in this instance for this book, I wish it didn't have a love triangle. Who's a great guy. She calls him grocery store guy, and I'm just
boring.
No, he's a great freaking guy. Like, I freaking love him. But I don't know. It's a great story. I just the way it went about with like the whole love triangle type of thing. I kind of don't know.
Did you like it though?
I did like it. Yeah. It was a little angsty, a little sad, a little sexy.
Do you think you'll read the other books? Because it's more than one book, correct?
I believe, yes. 2, 3?
With the same characters.
I think the first 2 books are with her.
It's a duet.
It's a duet, and then there's a 3rd book.
Huh.
And you're not interested in reading the 2nd book?
Yes, to kind of find out how it ends, or who she ends up with. But I'm not rushing to.
Is the reincarnation part interesting?
And is it done well?
Because it is an interesting trope.
I think
that we don't see very often.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think it is. It's done. It's Yes, I'll just say yes.
Okay.
I feel like it's done good.
Like, I kind of, like, I'm a sucker for reincarnation stories, so I kind of do want to look at this book and maybe read it. But we'll see. Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of love triangles.
I only have fun with love triangles when I know I'm right. When I know I'm shipping the right ship.
Yes.
If I don't know and I'm getting anxious between the 2 guys and I'm like, who could it be? Who is it gonna be? I don't want that stress in my life. Yeah. I don't want it. or the angst or the pain that comes with it.
Yeah, I like to firmly be on one side and know that's who she or he will end up with. And I just go with it. Yeah. I don't like to be like torn between the two and like love them both and then be heartbroken when one of them doesn't get the person.
That as well.
That hurts.
Well, this is it for this week. I hope that if you did pick up a book with us to face your own monsters, I hope you enjoyed it. And please let us know what it was online if you want to. Let us know what you thought of it. You can reach us on Instagram at Romancing the Monsters Podcast, on Twitter at TheRTMPod. If you want to see some TikToks, you can go on Romancing the Monsters Pod. You can also email us. We love emails at romancingthemonsterspodcast@gmail.com. And we are also on YouTube. If you prefer that format, you can just search for Romancing the Monsters Podcast and you should be able to find us. If you want to find me specifically, you can go on both Twitter and Instagram at Foes and Lovers.
And you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at But This Book.
And you can find me, Seth, on both Instagram and Twitter at Pros with Woes. Please feel free to leave us any review or rating on any of the podcast platforms. It honestly means the world to us, and we would really appreciate just reach out to us. It really means the world to us.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.